Welcome back to this episode of the People Success Circle. I'm so excited to have my friend and speaking mentor, Christine Stickles, with us today. Christine, thank you so much for joining us. I am really excited for my audience to hear about your background and what you do.
Well, I'm excited to be here too, Mindy. So thanks for having me. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Indiana, but I've kind of lived all over within my career. I've had about a 20-year career in corporate America and marketing and had the opportunity to lead a lot of different brands, many that I hope your listeners still have in their homes, like Crock-Pot and Mr. Coffee and Rubbermaid and more, like legacy brands that you know and love. So I spent my career in marketing, and also I love to learn. So I even went back and got my master's and my doctorate in business because I thought it could really help me just continue to hone my skills. And so now I own my own business, which we'll dive into, but it is called C-Suite. And it's a company that we're a team now of 11 women who all act as fractional executives in marketing strategy and consumer insights.
That is so interesting to me. And the whole topic that we're going to talk about today is really about this new concept really in the workplace. It's really, I believe, the future of work for the executive level called fractional leadership. So Christine, you have held major leadership roles at companies like Newell Brands and, the with the products that you mentioned. What inspired your transition to leave the corporate world to launch a fractional executive firm?
Yeah. Well, I would tell you, and I say this to so many, I was at the same company for 20 years, which I never thought I would be. It wasn't my only company coming out of college, but it was the third. And I really enjoyed it. And the thing that was so amazing is I had the opportunity to work on so many different brands. So I was B2B and B2C. And so it was super just rewarding for me too. And I learned from so many different people, and I moved. So I've been in Charlotte and Atlanta and Miami and had global teams. Like all of it was super rewarding. And I would say, I always tell people, of my 20-year career, I loved 19 of it.
Mm,
And the last year, I just started to feel this pull
hmm.
that it was time for me to do something different. Now, I'm going to be real honest. I didn't know it was leading a company of fractional executives. That was not like top of my mind. That was not. The first thing I did was just quite honestly, and I know this, might sound a little jarring, but I just quit. Like I just felt like it was time to do something different. And I had been at the same company for so long, I didn't feel right about like interviewing or trying to figure out my next thing. And so I just planned that I was going to take a break. But I felt like, let me just take this time. And I did a little traveling, and I took my dad on a trip, and now my dad's 83. So I did this in 2019. So we all remember
Yeah.
what happened right after that. So the fact that I chose this time was really incredible. But the thing that started to like change my posture is I had all these people like coming to me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you
Yeah.
going to do? And then I'm starting to say to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going
What
to
am I going to do?
do? And then all of a sudden, my whole posture changed because I kind of got to decompress a little bit. I got to reflect, think about the things that I value. And then I asked a different question. It wasn't, what am I going to do? It was, what can I do? And that is a different posture of thinking about not just what am I going to do to fill my time and pay the bills and all of that, but after this, 25-year career, what can I do now?
Yeah. Yeah. What do I get to do? Right. Because you had, gotten so many experiences. And I thought it was really interesting that you said that you had so many different career experiences within one company.
Hmm.
In the HR world, we call that spider webbing. Like I'm not leaving the company and I'm not even necessarily getting promoted every single time. I'm going to go do
Right?
this and then I'm going to go do this. And it's so valuable. It's like almost like you change companies without changing
It is.
careers, you
It
know?
is. It totally is. Because I
Yeah.
had that. And I always tell people, like, if you can, do it. Like, if you can work on a different business, go to a different city. Like if you have the opportunity to do some of those things, you'll learn so
Oh
much
my
about
gosh.
what you love in your career path for sure.
Yes. Yeah. My first job out of college, I was with McDonald's Corporation and I moved 7 times in
Oh
seven
my God.
years. And yeah, I used to joke that I had young, single, relocatable, cheap tattooed on my forehead. And it
I
was
might have
like,
that same tattoo, by the way.
yeah, I know. Like we can move here. She doesn't own a house. It'll be fine.
I love that. And I think it's really wise to
Yeah.
try some of those things on, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So how did the fractional firm start?
Yeah. So my business partner, her name's Jen Hogan. She's a strategy expert by
Okay.
trade, and I am a marketer by
Right.
trade. And we both started chatting about what might it look like if we do something together. And she had been at a big airline for a while, and then as you can imagine, 2020
Yeah.
hits and airlines were offering a lot of free opportunity or
Yeah.
opportunities to leave, not necessarily free, but giving you a lot of incentive.
Right. Right.
So we just started chatting and we were like, hey, strategy and marketing together, it's a great combo that a lot of organizations need. And we felt like based on the brands and the companies that we had worked with, that we could really help others. And so we started at the end of 2020, our company called C Suite, and it was just the two of us. And we said, hey, if we can get one client next year, like that would be a win. We had some other things that we were working on separately. And so to us, that would be a win. And we had six.
Interesting though, because to me, and I'm not sure if this is true, so you probably know more about this than me. But I feel like fractional work became more popular during COVID because
Mm.
companies didn't realize that maybe they couldn't afford a chief marketing officer, or maybe they didn't need that full time. And I don't know, is it true that that really came about more or became more popular during the COVID era?
I think so. I mean, I haven't necessarily seen a lot of data on it. Fractional, actually, the concept has been around for almost like, I think 17 years now is when it was introduced as an idea in a HBR, kind of case. But I do think that people started to realize like you can work differently during the 2020 and COVID timeframe, and that, hey, you can find great talent to work virtually. And so that kind of opened up how people were thinking about talent. I also think, as we know, that many women were starting to think about their work differently during 2020 and how can I still have the career that I want to have, but can I do it in a different way? So I do think it started to be a bit of a catalyst for fractional because I will say, and I know I'm in it every day, but I see a lot more postings like on LinkedIn for fractional roles.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot more people talking about it and saying that they're doing it, as well, which wasn't common to your point, even 5, 10 years ago.
That's exactly right. And, companies can hire more like an entry level coordinator to do things like marketing or HR, but where companies really benefit is when they have the strategy, right? And that experience. So many companies still do associate leadership with full-time roles. What
Mhm.
does fractional really mean in today's business landscape?
So I and our team, we think of fractional two ways. Either you hire us for a specific project that you really want a high level executive to lead, and probably they've had that experience in another organization. And so you know immediately that they're qualified to take on a specific project. And that could be things like for me in marketing, you need to stand up an integrated marketing process and you need a phase gate process in your business. So that can be one way that I see companies say, hey, that we have a specific thing we need and we want to just find the talent that's done it before. It can also be part-time. And when I see organizations who are looking for part-time fractional leadership, they are looking for high level executive, to your point, strategy expertise, but they can't afford that full time hire just
Yeah.
based on the size of their organization. And this gives them the opportunity to have that level of expertise for maybe half the time or
Right.
75% of the time. So they still get the level of expertise, but at something that's flexible and variable for them from a budget perspective.
That makes a lot of sense. So, Christine, in your experience, what businesses do you feel benefit from having a fractional leader?
So we found that companies that myself and my team has worked with, we've worked with really large companies, so
Yeah.
13 billion, 20 billion, like large organizations. And our sweet spot is really what I would call a mid-tier company,
Okay.
that they're in that 500 million to $3 billion range, and they're looking for the expertise and the
Yeah.
leadership from an executive that's been at one of those larger companies, but they need it that in a way that's flexible and adaptable for them. So it could be for a project or again for part-time. And one of the things that I see that they're really looking for is they want someone that can come in and like jump in right away. And they're looking for somebody who's kind of been there, done it before, so that they can immediately hit the ground running with whatever problem or
Yeah.
initiative that they're trying to spend time on.
And that makes sense because there's so much value in bringing somebody in who has done that level of work so that things can be sped up and the results can happen really quickly.
Yeah. And I find, and Mindy, you've probably seen this too in your career, is that yes, a lot of times you can hire like what you and I might call consultants to
Hmm.
help with some of these things. But the value that I see in a fractional executive specifically is that they've done it before. Consultants haven't always done it before. I'm not going to say that's, it's not a always, answer, but there are just some times where I've found that I've worked with certain organizations that they may have some really good ideas, but they haven't been the ones who are the boots on the ground,
Yes.
actually doing it every day, ensuring, it gets executed.
Yeah, that is really a different way of looking at it because sometimes people think, fractional equals part-time or, like you said, consultant. And it is a little bit different when you think about the level of person you can bring in, but B, really that experience that they come with. You mentioned you have, you're a team of 11 women. Um, Tell me about that. How do you attract the talent?
Well, by design, we are 11 women.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I think we were just talking about that, we learned during COVID is I find that there are a lot of women executives out there who still want to be executives,
Yeah.
but maybe something in their life has changed where they feel like they need to work differently. For me and my business partner have aging parents, and
Right.
so we want to make sure that we can be available and be caregivers for them. My business partner actually was a caregiver for her sister who was going through a really tough diagnosis, and this gave her a lot of flexibility to be with her, like towards or at her sister's end of life.
Hmm.
And, so many times when you have a full-time job, you're trying to decide, like, where am I going to spend my time with my family, my kids,
Yeah.
caregiving? Or some of the women that work on our team, they want to start their own business, but
Right.
they want to still be able to lean into being an executive and doing, what they've been doing in their career for so long. So the way that we've attracted talent is women executives who still want to operate as executives, but need the flexibility to do it on a part-time or on a project basis that they can come in and out of. But I think when you talk to our team, they all find it extremely rewarding because they're not taking a step back. They're still operating like executives, right? So if they ever want to go back into corporate full time, they can because they've never stepped away. They're just working differently. And I'm so passionate about that for all of the women out there who are trying to navigate kiddos, caregiving, trying on new things that they really want to lean into, and just having the flexibility to try some of those things on, but still do what you know you're great at.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you really hit it on the head when they want to still keep doing high level work. because there were times in my career when I decided I want to be a stay-at-home mom, realized very quickly that that was not for me, went to work
Yep.
part-time and I was like, that's not stimulating enough for me, and kind of took some steps back. And then when I finally left my senior vice president of HR job, it was during COVID and it was to start my own business. I wanted to still lead at that level, but on my terms.
And I really do believe you said, the future is fractional. I agree. And I would also, my hope is the future is fractional for women, right? And because I just believe that, to your point, no one wants to go backwards in their career or feel like they have to take this total pause necessarily. And to your point, there is work potentially available, but it may not be very stimulating in the part-time world. It wasn't even an option, for people before us. And so I think it's just a really great model to like still be able to work at the level that you deserve to work at because you did it.
Because you did it, right? And you do carry that experience and can just literally walk into a company and lead at the same level.
Yeah.
So it's just such a great concept, which is really why I wanted to have you on, because I was like, I don't think people really know that this is what like I said, like the future of work. I
Yeah.
don't think it's an option that's going away. I think if
I don't
anything, it'll
either.
just grow.
Yeah, totally agree.
So, what have been some of the benefits that you've seen companies have when they hire someone from your team?
One of the main benefits is we can come in immediately
Yeah.
and hit the ground running because we've operated at these levels before.
Hmm.
So you're not necessarily needing to train someone on how to be a marketing executive
Right.
or how to lead a strategy initiative within your organization. We come with that expertise. The companies can come with just so much confidence that that is ready to go, taken care of for them. And then because our team's members have worked within so many different types of environments, we know how to collaborate, we know how to navigate organizations, we know the importance of including the right people along the way. So, because we've operated in those environments and because we've been on the other side of bad consulting experiences, so
Right.
we
You've
do
hired
it
consultants, you've
differently.
had people come in. So you're like, I
Yeah.
know what to do and what not to do.
Exactly.
Right.
So we want to do it differently. So I think that, as a company, when you hire a fractional executive, that immediately they can jump in and do the work and they
Hmm.
know how to operate at the level that you would expect them to. And if for some reason budgets get tight or things change, strategies change, you can flex these roles. You can flex them up, you can flex them down. And so you don't feel beholden like, oh my gosh, I put all this training time into this talent and now things have changed and we don't know the path for them. Our model is, hey, if we work ourselves out of a job, that's okay. Like that's what we're here for, is to
Yeah.
set you up for success.
Progresses you need us to make, and then we're flexible to work our way out.
Other benefit, I would say, and this is just because it's something I'm super passionate about, and I would challenge anyone who gets into the fractional type world to be passionate about it as well, is a benefit to the company is that their team
Hmm.
that worked with that fractional executive should feel developed, mentored, know more today than they did when we started, but
Right.
we're there to set up the teams to be successful, to now make it even better, right? And
Yes, yes.
learn
That
and know that we're invested in.
Yeah, and that's actually, from a human resources perspective, it's one of the main things that people want today. They want to be developed. They want exposure to people who can teach them things, whether it's in a structured setting or working side by side like you do. And so it is another benefit. I love that you said that because it definitely is a benefit. It's what people want. They're asking for career development and mentors to look up to. So what a gift to the people who are at the organization that they get to work alongside your team.
Yeah, it's very rewarding for me to walk away and say, we did this thing. You now have a strategy. You now have a new brand,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. But it's even more rewarding to hear from the people you worked with every day. I learned so much. Thank you for teaching me, because those are the things that are lasting and leave legacy and great memories, right?
Yeah, for sure. Now, how do you attract clients as a fractional business?
Mhm.
I'm curious about that because I'm sure there are people listening to this going, that sounds fantastic. How could I get involved in that? So how do you get clients?
Well, Mindy, you and I were just talking about this before the podcast that business development is a thing. And so, you know, it's not like things just fall into your lap when you declare I'm a fractional executive. But I will say a couple of things that I feel are just great tools and ways to find the right talent or clients, excuse me, is one, gotta be really active on
Hmm.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's a place where let people know what you're up to. Hey, we do fractional work. We can support you in marketing and strategy. After having a 25-year career, I have a pretty broad network, and then you times that by the 11 people on our team, and think about like how broad that net is. And so I feel like it's really important to just stay very connected to your network. The other thing, though, I would say that I find of when it might be the right time to talk to an organization is if they've had some sort of leadership change,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
either a new CEO or a new head of marketing where all of a sudden it's time to revisit strategy or it's
Hmm.
time for a big transformation. And so those are times when it's like, hey, I just saw you hired a new CEO. Let's talk about where you're at from a strategy perspective, not probably on their day one, but day 90 after they've done their listening tour and all those things. They start to have a feel for where they need to jump in and what are some of the initiatives that they want to focus on. So I think that's really important. And then just staying connected to people and that you've worked with in the past to see if they might need help or support. If we as fractional executives have done a great job in our previous roles or with previous clients, there's always return business, of course. And I think we just have to remember that do great work and the clients will continue to want to work with you. So
Yeah, for sure. As you know, one of the things I talk about a lot and I speak about too is networking. And I analyzed my numbers last year and 93% of my customers came from word of mouth and networking, right? And so it's just such a powerful thing to do. And you are right, when you have 11 people who've been executives before, they have a big network. And the more you can use that through LinkedIn and just really, I like to say people can't buy from you, refer you, hire you, nominate you, all those things if they don't know you. And so it's really, making yourself known.
it's that, and I think you've heard me say this. It's also reminding ourselves that no one's thinking about us.
Right.
So we got to keep reminding people what we do because someone may not need fractional executive work today. In 6 months from now, they may. And if I don't keep, spending time with my network, as you mentioned, thinking about LinkedIn as a great tool, then people may forget what you're up to. So it's important to just keep out there and developing.
So, for executives who are thinking of maybe leaving their full time role to follow the fractional career path, what is the mindset shift that they need to make them successful?
I do think you have to spend some time before you jump into a fractional role, having a point of view about what really you get energy from.
Okay.
And for me, just as an example, I love building things. So I love building brands.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that as I dive into this fractional space, that's what I really want to spend time with clients on. I want to help you take a legacy brand and completely reinvent it to be, the new brand that resonates with the modern world and the modern. I'm not a fixer, but there are fractional executives out there who want to be the fixers. There's a big problem out there and they love to fix things. So I think you have to have some real like self-awareness around in your current executive role. What do you love to do? Because that's then the thing that you can lean into and really make something as a part of your value proposition and what you offer organizations. I also think you have to remember like you're not there forever. So it is important, like what we were saying, to build the capabilities of the team. You cannot go in and be a one-man band do a project, do it on your own, hide behind, the Oz curtain or something like that, and then be like, we're done, and expect that it's going to stick. So you have to be really comfortable in operating like an employee, right?
Yeah.
That you're there as an executive, even if it's part-time or for a project, and making sure that you do it in the same way that you would, in another organization. Now, that said, I also think you have to be really comfortable being a catalyst. So you're hired for something, change, fixing something. And so you need to lean into that, because the goal of a fractional executive should be to help the organization get further faster, right, than if they hired someone that was just in the kind of day-to-day role. So you are going to push, you are going to move a little faster, you are going to ask for more potentially than the teams might be used to. And it's because that's your remit. You've worked with your client to say, hey, is it that we're trying to accomplish in this period of time? So
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing all of this about the fractional role and about your business. I think it's going to be very valuable for our listeners, but I can't let you go without talking to you a little bit about your work with the women speaking community. The way that I know you is because I was a student under Christine and Jess Ekstrom and Shell to learn about how to be a paid speaker. And through our relationship of meeting each other there, I realized that, I wanted to talk to you about fractional work, but I also want to ask you a few questions about your work because I just feel it's so, so important what you're doing to help women become more confident in using their voices. So I know you're passionate about that work. What drew you to that mission?
So yes, am very involved in Mic Drop Workshop, and highly recommend for any women out there who want to build their confidence in speaking that you take a look and go to our website. I met Jess Ekstrom actually when I was in corporate America looking for a speaker. And
Interesting. Okay.
so I had a team of about, 200 people across the globe, marketers, and I was bringing them all in for a conference. And I just kept getting teed up kind of a very similar profile of speaker.
Mm,
And that's true a lot in
yeah.
marketing roles. And a lot of them were middle of their career. And I just felt like it was so important for them to have a speaker come in that looked like them.
For
Like,
sure.
how important is that for all of us to see someone doing the thing, that looks like us? And that it feels attainable to us. So Jess and I stayed in contact, and I just started to realize, especially as I sat in these fractional roles and consulting roles, how important it is for us as women to use our voice. And whether that be on stage like you do, which is fantastic, or just in a boardroom or with a team, like speaking with confidence and really kind of leaning into your voice, or wherever you are in a
Right.
PTA meeting, or like hanging out with a group that you just met. Like, we all know public speaking is one of the number one fears out there. I think it's still number one, where so many people are afraid to do it. And so I am just passionate about women using their voice in the way that they want to, right? And in their own style, to speak with confidence and to just ensure that their voices are heard. I've been in a lot of rooms where women get talked over, or they say something and then someone else repeats it, and it was like, well, wait a minute, I just said that. And so I just am passionate about helping women lean into that with a lot of confidence.
I love it. And I know I've benefited from it and now learned to help other women build that confidence too. And it really is so rewarding. I was just teaching someone about the concept that you teach between being a lighthouse speaker or, actually having the spotlight on you. And that just resonates so much with helping women and our natural helpers, I think, helping them realize that when they speak up, they're actually shining light and helping other people, which I just love. So, what have you learned from teaching public speaking that you wish more executives understood?
I don't necessarily teach our team or the cohort that comes through about public speaking. I teach them about their personal branding and how to bring their message to life because I want to make sure that you can have an amazing speech that'll get incredible applause, but if you don't have great marketing or messaging, you're not going to get on stage, right? So like it's really important to like hone that in. And what I think is important, whether you are a public speaker who wants to do this for a living, or you're an executive who wants to get more confident in speaking, to me, it all starts with knowing who you are. And
Hmm.
when I say that, I mean your own personal values and really defining that so that when you speak, you know that you're exemplifying those values. I think a lot of times, especially in leadership, people don't know what to do with this, right? Like they're like, oh my gosh, they have the title. I'm not sure how to interact and engage with them. But at the end of the day, we're all just humans.
Right.
So I always tell anybody who I start working with, okay, I just want to tell you a little bit about me and some of the values that I have. One, I'm highly curious. I love to learn. And when I ask questions, I'll probably ask you a lot. And I just want to make sure you know that those are questions, not challenges. Because a lot of times people are like, why am I getting all these questions? Right. And so I want people to know I value curiosity. Therefore, you will hear me ask a lot of questions.
Hmm.
I also tell people, and you know this from us spending time together, I'm a candid communicator. And so, and I want people to know that because I want them to know that I am going to tell you exactly how I feel. If it's great, it's great. If it's bad, it's bad. We'll figure it out together, but I'm not really a sugar and I don't do things behind closed doors. So I give those examples because you may have something totally different that
Yeah.
you value. It might be fairness or, it could be a lot of different things. But those values are what should guide your communication and
Hmm.
how you speak. And if you're, as a leader, upfront with people about what you value and then how that's going to come to life in your communication, you'll help them so much. And it will also help you as a communicator.
Yeah.
Because if I walk away from a meeting and realize that I wasn't candid, I was actually mean, then I need someone to tell me that. Like, hey, Christine, I know you say you're candid, but that actually was like a little too much. And so it helps me be a better communicator,
Hmm.
speak with confidence because I know what I value, but it also helps those around me understand what's behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes great sense. That makes great sense. And I feel like I've seen you in action. And so I've seen you be that curious person and really use that curiosity to guide results. So I know for me, I value it very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that I learned a lot, and I'm sure that the listeners will too. If you'd like to get in touch with Christine, I will make sure that I link her LinkedIn URL in our show notes. I'll also link the website address for C-Suite as well as the Mic Drop workshop programs. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.